Hello, today I'm playing Armored Brigade. I'm recreating the Battle of Iwo Jima between the United States Marines and Imperial Japan. The battle consists of an amphibious assault on the island in order to take the airfields and the whole island. My forces are composed of two infantry scout sections, two scout sniper sections, then I have mechanized amphibious infantry and amphibious tanks, and then this one, which is a bit strange because it comes from a mod. It's battleship artillery cannons, which I cannot locate. Okay, so these ones. Okay, so as you can see, I've already analyzed the map. So these these squares indicate positions that the enemy can use to have a field of view on the battleground. In fact, if we use the line of sight tool, you can see that all those points have great line of sight on the battle space. So I will be targeting them with my artillery, which is actually a problem because the game didn't let me select among my units artillery, and so I can only take this naval artillery, but it is very expensive, so I can actually only have two guns, and so I can only fire at two different targets at the same time, which is a problem. Anyway, the these these marks here indicate urbanized zones which are destroyed because I am simulating the artillery bombardment before the assault by selecting in the mission settings destruction to 50%. The battle is uh, is set on February 1945 at 9 o'clock, which is the real date of the battle and also the real time of the battle. The weather is fair, there is good visibility, and going back to the map, this blue line shows my defensible border after I have conquered the area, and this blue line with the lines on it indicates a temporary perimeter that I will be securing during my advance, but that will be abandoned after I have secured my objectives. These green and yellow lines aren't important. I was using them during my planning, but don't pay attention to them. Now, this is the map, the topographical map of the battlefield. As you can see, it is a kind of flat terrain, a bit hilly here and flat here, but it's on different levels. It's like a stair. So, although it is flat, there are some steep terrains that connect the two levels. So we have to get on this plane as fast as possible so as to not be exposed to enemy fire because they can see us on the shore, but we can't hit them unless they are skylining themselves against the edge of the plateau, but they can just come back and be hidden from us. So my plan is to go very fast with the tanks and the mechanized artillery, mechanized infantry, and reach the woods, then dismount my infantry. I have them in a formation like this. You can see that because I am keeping them as far as possible to simulate the landing, because if I wanted to I could start on the beach, but I don't think that's a good way to simulate this scenario. So I will dismount them, and as I was saying, I have them in this formation so that since there is the possibility that I will miss some enemy units, if I advanced in a line, I would leave them behind, and then that would be a problem because we would be trapped between two enemy lines. So, like, if I advance like this, I have more probability. I am more likely to actually catch all enemies. And I also have more firepower on the same line, even though they are actually one behind the other, so they would be better offset, but that's not an option. So these red triangles, rectangles, are the weak spots in my defensive line. The reason why I chose this defensive line is because here there are hills. The same hills that give the enemy an advantage give me an advantage too. So if I manage to conquer them, I have good visibility on the surrounding area, and also this zone is heavily urbanized, at least for this island, so I can use the buildings to defend the perimeter by permeating the infantry inside them, inside all the zone. Then here there is an open terrain, so that I can see the enemies coming, and I will put both infantry and tanks here. Then this zone is not particularly defensible. We have woods, which not all these woods are burned down, again for the reason of the destruction and artillery fire. I don't think that's that realistic that they're burned down, like every single one, but whatever. And also this this zone here is not very defensible. There are no features of the terrain, no buildings, no points which offer you good line of sight, and so the enemies could try to come from here to puncture our line and then come back and attack us from two sides. Since there is a bit of a salient here, they could cut us off. So I will make my infantry, two of my infantry groups and two of my armor groups go there. Then I will have one of my infantry groups and one of my armor groups go here to secure this line, while the others will go there and will have to break through enemy defenses and conquer the objectives. This is to not be surrounded. And then I have another infantry unit that will be here and will be waiting, and based on the situation I will have them move there. I have a pre-established path for them. That's not that one. This one, as you can see, it's red. It means that they won't do it, but after I activate it, they will do it without no delay. Okay, so the last thing is this mountain. Now again, I didn't want to make my troops start already on the ground, but since these are scouts, light infantry, I I took the liberty of supposing that they kind of infiltrated with small boats, and so they start already close to the shore. They will then proceed. The sniper teams will go on top of the mountain because it has a very good line of sight over the whole area. Now this is all clear because I'm not actually selecting a unit. If there was a unit, you can see that there is a clear line and then a less clear line. That's because the unit don't have a perfect view, even though there is a line of sight. At a certain distance, they will have difficulty seeing targets. So the snipers will go there. I don't expect them to actually take out enemies unless they are that close because it's actually a big distance. That's already 1 kilometer and 300 meters, which is a lot. Now this is 2.5 kilometers, so it's not really a distance from which they can take shots, but I need them for observation mostly. And then I have the normal scouts, which will go there on the edge of the plateau to look down after we have completed the assault with the other troops to provide a perimeter so that we can ensure to not be encircled. It's 8 of these scout units, so they can actually, even though they are very small, they can actually provide some defense. Not very much. I would have to detach mechanized infantry units in case there was a major breakthrough from there, but at least they provide screening for this area. Then, after we managed to go even further, they will provide security for this zone here, this part of the perimeter, while the mechanized infantry and the armor will be there. And I have these targets set up for my artillery, and now I can start. Also, this one is another marking which is like that, but since it's long, I prefer to do this instead of putting a lot of markers. So before I start, this is the isometric view of the map. So as you can see, here is the mountain, here is the shore, here it is more visible the plateau that is more elevated than the shore, same thing here. Then there's the hilly side with the woods, and here in the middle it's all plain and unobstructed. In fact, I will be using my tanks in this zone because it's the more appropriate battlefield for them, while the infantry will be going in the woods to clear them up. After they dismount, their mechanized amphibious vehicles will provide suppressive fire and fire support in general with their heavy 50 caliber machine gun. And the tanks will kill infantry and also the occasional armored vehicles. And also, since one thing I forgot to mention is that the enemies are, that's one of the settings that you can choose when you create the mission. They are dug in and fortified. That means that they are dug in, so they have dug trenches both for themselves and for vehicles, and they are also fortified. That in the game language means that they can have, okay, so I forgot to remove one of those. Okay, so I was saying that they can have bunkers, they can have pillboxes, which is the same thing, and they can have minefields and also obstacles like the ones that you see on D-Day representations, the crosses, the steel crosses, iron crosses that they put on the beaches. So now they can't actually put them here because it's my zone, my green zone there. So yes, I should have put the zone a bit back, but I would have had to remake this scenario from the beginning and it would have been too much. So now I can actually start. Okay. Yes, I will speed that up because it will take a bit. Mm. So yes, they are already firing at us from the plateau, as I said. Now, these naval guns seem to be extremely powerful, so at least they can help with that. Positions that are firing at us, but they don't have very much ammunition, and we're already taking heavy casualties. Okay, so we are taking heavy casualties on the shore landing, as expected. That's why we have to move fast. So I will try to eliminate enemy units with my extremely powerful cannons, but I have to use them carefully because they have very little ammunition, especially for the duration that I expect the mission to have. Also, the scouts will be coming here way sooner than I expected because the 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 armor is being extremely slow. It's taking forever. to make just 1 kilometer. They are going extremely slow. Okay, so I won't waste ammunition on that. Okay, so I will speed that up until they actually manage to land. Now this is a problem because I thought that the landing would be way faster. It doesn't make sense to shoot my artillery on those. I will save it for later. Okay, so I can't control this unit anymore. Now I can. Okay, so this one managed to. Yeah, so there is a problem with the artificial intelligence in this game. That they don't go together. So, like, if you tell them to go to one place as a whole unit, and one manages to get on land faster than the other, then it will go by itself. Also, it's hard to time the movement of the units because like what happened here. Now that was my fault, but even if you use the red markers that you can activate later, you can't divide them in sections. You can only activate them all at once, so you can only have one section actually. Now this is a sweet target for artillery since it's their infantry. How much does it take? Okay, so the majority of my landing vehicles are being immobilized, so the troops will have to dismount. Yes, the troops of the immobilized vehicles get the orders that I gave them completely deleted. So now I have to do it again, and I'm already running out of artillery ammunition. So I find it a bit strange that it took them an hour to do 1 kilometer, since they're amphibious vehicles. I don't know. And also the immobilized vehicles, which I think it's due to the terrain, which is unpleasant because since they are amphibious vehicles and this map is made specifically for this kind of operation, I find it a bit annoying that they get stuck this way, because now basically my whole plan is destroyed because the all the orders that I gave them get deleted when they get immobilized. So that's a bit annoying. And then you have to select them one by one. Yes, it's a bit of a rough game sometimes. Like, it needs some quality of life improvements, because you aren't really supposed to micromanage the game, the units, but in the end you actually have to sometimes, because otherwise they will be too stupid. For example, if you tell them to defend an objective, they won't do it in a smart way. Like, they won't choose the right terrain, cover and concealment, right line of sight. So you actually have to do it by hand, one by one, or just deal with the fact that it's done that way. Okay. So basically all my infantry is still there. I didn't expect the assault to go like this. I don't know why all those vehicles have been immobilized. I mean, yes, it says vehicle trafficability is very low, so I think that's the reason why. I'm not very experienced with this kind of mechanic of the game, but it's a bit annoying. Now these vehicles, okay. They have managed to land, also these ones, and also these ones. So at least half to like 3/5, 60% of my forces I've managed to land. Now, I understand that this video won't be very appealing due to my non-fluency speaking English. So yes, you just have to give these very broad orders because okay, that's too much. Okay. Yes, you just have to give them these broad orders that are very ugly to look at, but if you actually go there and micromanage everything, you will never finish again. Okay, so now they're getting a bit close. Okay. Okay, so they have set up their defenses in this zone as I expected. But we are too much for them. They are outnumbered. I forgot to say in the briefing, if you will, that when you start the game you have a certain amount of points that you can use to buy units, and they had less than half the ones that I have. That's also because it's just a game mechanic that the attacking force always has more points. So yeah, it's been very disorderly. And of course the urban terrain is taking a lot to clear, but we are simply too many for them. Now there are some APCs here that I will be trying to take out. Okay, so this defensive perimeter has been set up and I will just leave them there. Yes, of course they're tired. Okay. Okay, so these guys actually have the correct orders. This one too. It just takes a lot of time because they are on foot. So I will speed it up, even though it's a bit confusing, but that's not much going on actually. We have met very little resistance at the moment, so I will start bombing. These urban areas. Even though it doesn't seem to be anyone there, since I have one of my tanks and nobody's shooting. Okay, so in the end, my intentions are being respected by the units. The only thing is that there was this unexpected event. There was this unexpected event. And also the other thing that I didn't consider is that this dismounted infantry is way slower than the tanks, so the tanks will be arriving there way before the infantry. Okay. Now we don't have any more ammunition for that one, but it has done its job. Now they are taking cover in the woods, and now I will lower the volume. My tanks should be able to take out the infantry. Now we have the 18. What's that? I don't know what happened here. I think that they just got bombed by my tanks, the howitzer tanks. Okay. Okay. I forgot to tell those tanks to move. Well, that's an error on my part. I'll get those ones. Okay. Yes, it's a bit messy. Also, big scenarios are always messy. I mean, you can't control every unit. That's why there are, in fact, various levels of command. Like in this case, I would be the higher commander, and then each unit should have its own commander that directs each group, and then each group has its own commander that commands individual units. Or actually, in infantry teams, I think they have squad leaders and team leaders, so they are subdivided even more. But anyway, now we are swarming the island now. that the infantry has actually come. We are just swarming them. Okay, so there are these APCs, but I don't really care. I have my scouts, my infantry that are holding this area to not be encircled. As I said earlier, I mean the infantry, it's not its job to defend here. It's the scouts. Their Overwatch role wasn't really done because we just blasted through this area very quickly, so it wasn't actually needed. So I think that these are enemy units, but the guys that have seen them aren't actually too sure. So we may be risking to be encircled. So I will divert. Those units here. To defend us from encirclement, but if these guys aren't seeing anything, then I'm not really sure what's going on. I will just make a couple of them go there to make sure. Okay, so we have taken all the objectives. We have set up the defensive perimeter. Now I would say to go inside their vehicles, and after that the little waypoints, go inside their vehicles. Why aren't they going inside? I don't know. And then advance and conquer the rest of the island and clear it from the enemies. Okay, they aren't going inside the vehicles because they are the ones that had their vehicles immobilized. Okay, so there is infantry in the sea. Okay. So that's what I'm saying about micromanaging. But it's a game. So they have some pillboxes, but it doesn't make sense to put them that far back. So yes, the artificial intelligence is not that smart because, for example, in some other games that I had, well, for example, just look at the placement of those obstacles, pretty random. Also, in some other games that I had, they just charge you frontally, like in the open. For example, if there are two woods and then there is a plain in the middle with no trees, and they just charge you across the plain instead of with tanks versus tanks, and mechanized infantry. And instead of shooting you from a distance, they just charge across and explode themselves. So, by the way, this is just the standard points that the game gives. I haven't given myself more points. It's just that when you attack, they give you a lot more points. So in the future, maybe I will give the enemy more points to balance that, to have a more balanced engagement, because now we really extremely outnumber them, which in the case of the Iwo Jima battle is actually worse. Okay, so we only have these APCs now. I will just have my infantry charge them. It's not really the best thing to do, but they're just for against all that infantry. They also have anti-tank weapons. I think yes, they should have anti-tank weapons. Okay, they don't. Because I don't know how demolition charges are used. Okay, they have some anti-tank, anti-armor weapons, but there are some specialized anti-tank things like this. That has a bazooka. Okay, so in the end it went as I expected, except from this and also the tanks going faster than the infantry, but it was just a stupid field on my part because it was pretty obvious. Okay, so the APCs are actually mowing down my infantry. Well, yes, if they don't have any anti-tank weapon, they won't be able to destroy APCs, but I have won in the end. Well, I mean that was pretty easy actually. It was a bit too easy in my opinion. I had too many, even accounting for all the ones that I lost in the sea. I had way more units than them. But I mean, since I was recreating the Battle of Iwo Jima, the disparity in power is actually realistic. While in the future, I will try to make shorter videos on smaller scenarios that are a bit more tasty, because this one lasted very long, and I don't think many people will actually watch it, especially with my commentary, which is not the best, but I play this game anyway, so recording it doesn't take much. So I will make more videos.